Welcome to the Pocket. My name is Scooter, here to give you my Week 8 reaction to the Giants' Monday Night Football loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, 26-18. The Giants had an opportunity to tie this game with a touchdown and a two-point conversion on their last drive. We got past midfield, and I was starting to get some hope. Silly me. Daniel Jones scrambled to the right, could have thrown it to Theo Johnson and risked chewing the clock. He elected to throw it to Singletary, probably hoping that he'd get out of bounds and stop the clock. Sort of a smart decision. That is, if you hit him. And at least if you don't hit him, you could miss low and it could be incomplete and stop the clock. Daniel Jones missed high. And there were two Pittsburgh Steelers defenders behind Singletary, and they got the interception. That was the end of the game. Now, on my thumbnail, some of you all may not be familiar with who that is pushing that boulder. That is Sisyphus, someone that I learned about in college in my philosophy class. And although I did learn about it, I'm just going to read to you the simple explanation that is given on Google, as it's a nice little summary. Sisyphus is a figure from Greek mythology. He was punished for his misdeeds by being forced to roll a boulder up a hill in the underworld, only to have it roll back down each time he neared the top. The story of Sisyphus has become a symbol of the absurd nature of human existence and the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity. The term Sisyphean describes something that is unending, thankless, and ultimately unsuccessful. Now, some take an optimistic approach. Albert Camus, I hope I said that right, used Sisyphus as an example of a person experiencing a meaningless existence, but he argued that life still has beauty and joy that can be appreciated. He says, one must imagine Sisyphus is happy. So why did I put him on the thumbnail? Because I was thinking all day and all week, or really since, the past 2 days, about what if we lose? Okay, we did lose. How am I going to explain and add context and give meaning to the Giants season this year? And it finally hit me. Being a Giants fan is just like being Sisyphus, or even just the Giants in general. It's unending, it's thankless, and it's ultimately unsuccessful. It's punishment. But not only that, it's punishment for a reason, because he gets so close to pushing this boulder over to the top where he can finally end his suffering. That is winning a football game. But every time he gets close, just rolls right back down the mountain, and he's just got to start all over in next week's game. So, what is the takeaway from this message about Sisyphus? Well, one is that it sucks being a Giants fan right now, and it's not just been right now, it's been 8 years. With the exception of one season, the Giants have finished 2-6 or worse in their first 8 games. That's absolutely awful. It doesn't even feel like that. I must have a really short and forgiving memory to constantly give this football team hope after season after season after season. But perseverance in the face of adversity. Looking at the positives, the Giants clearly have the best rookie class in the NFL. And Joe Shane, though he's missed on a few draft picks, has hit on the large majority of them, especially in the later rounds. So, although this season is, for all intents and purposes, as I stated last week, it's over, I believe, personally, there are bright days ahead. Whether it's a Tommy Cutlets, Drew Lock, or even a Daniel Jones win later in the season, which I personally find entertaining. Or it's the Giants drafting a new quarterback or signing one in free agency. Something new is coming next season, and I am so ready for it. I am so ready to move on from this era of being a character in Greek mythology. now that I've explained the thumbnail, I hope you all enjoyed that. Let's get into a quick little recap of the game. Not going drive by drive, but just to give you a quick summary. The Giants, once again, the defense is always the same. Starting it off, we can't stop the run between the 20s, but once we get into the red zone, we were able to hold the Steelers to a couple field goals, and it was 9 points they scored on field goals in the first half. So red zone defense was once again pretty effective, but run defense is a little squishy. And the Giants, very similarly, were able to move the ball down the field, but were not able to score and convert touchdowns. So I believe it was 9-9 going in the half. And then in the third quarter, it seemed like the floodgates opened. The Giants, once again, they couldn't move the ball downfield on one drive, so they punt. And whether a Giants player threw the Steelers special teams player into the punter, there was contact on the punter that was not called. And on that play, as you can only imagine, it gets returned for a touchdown by Calvin Austin. Oh boy. It's just one thing after another each week with the special teams. Something different goes wrong. Something I'll get into more later in the video. And then Giants continue to not be able to score. And Russell Wilson connects on a few deep shots to Pickens. And they score another touchdown. Or I can't remember, to be honest, if they scored another. Let me check real quick. I'm probably not remembering this correctly. I've had a lot go on the past 2 days. So let me just make sure. Yes, they scored the touchdown in the third quarter, and then, yes, it was a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Forgive me for that. Been absorbing a lot of information recently, doing my best to keep up with these videos. But nonetheless, they scored a touchdown. They kick a field goal, so they're up 2 touchdowns, and it's really not looking good. The Giants did manage to get a field goal in the fourth quarter, but it was looking like a blowout. But suddenly the Giants started coming back. They scored a touchdown off of Tyrone Tracy, 40-yard touchdown run, I believe it was. Great job by the O-line, and Tracy looks great. So you're starting to think, hey, maybe there's a chance, but it was kind of a fluky play. Probably not going to, put a drive together all the way down the field and score another touchdown. Steelers have the ball, and it's looking like, yeah, they're going to chew up this clock. We can't stop them between the 20s. But Russell Wilson takes off on a scramble, and Bobby Okereke punches it out and recovers the fumble all by himself. And you're thinking, oh my God, we have a chance to beat the Steelers. And I get the Steelers aren't the best team in the league, not even in the AFC, maybe not even in their own division, best division in football, but they are. I know they have the best record, but no, they're not better than the Ravens. Please, miss me with that. But yeah, it was like, wow, we actually are in position once again, as it always is. We're in position to beat the team on the other side of the field. So what did we do? We have an opportunity to go down the field and we get halfway there. And oh yeah, almost forgot to mention it. After that fumble, TJ Watt is one-on-one on Illuminor, and I couldn't help but notice that Theo Johnson wasn't over there, but Devin Singletary was. So Singletary releases up the middle, though. He doesn't chip TJ Watt. And TJ Watt basically, one-on-one, it's a free release for him, and he strip sacks Daniel Jones on not even his blind side. It was on the right side. Strip sacks him. I don't understand how Daniel Jones did not, and even if he was anticipating a chip, right, from Singletary. It was said after the game by Brian Dable he was supposed to motion Theo Johnson over to do that. How are you still not, multitasking where you're, observing the defense to make sure, okay, the pass rush isn't there, and I'm reading the coverage. Pass rush isn't there, go back to reading the coverage. I don't know if you're supposed to do it at the same time or if you're supposed to quickly go back and forth between them. I never played quarterback, but I can only imagine you have to at least be able to do it in one of those two ways. And it just seems like he can't do either. But nonetheless, the Giants had timeouts, and the Steelers couldn't get enough first downs to chew up all the clock, and the Giants get the ball back with 2 minutes left. And Daniel Jones actually starts piecing together a nice drive. He hits a nice outbreaking route to Malik Neighbors. He gets a couple first downs, and we get past the 50. Then, as I stated in the beginning of the video, he overthrows Singletary, and I get he's small. But another thing, if you're a quarterback, right, obviously you're trying to hit something on target, right? But if you're going to hedge, right, you naturally are going to hedge one way or another, right? Ball placement. Are you going to place it high for back shoulder? Are you going to place it low? That's depending on the coverage. But if I'm in this situation, if I'm going to miss a pass, it's going to be in the dirt because it'll be incomplete. It'll stop the clock and it won't go over anyone's head and get intercepted. So that is how the game ended. That is mostly how it happened. Sorry, it wasn't super detailed, but I'm trying to, sort of just talk more about just the team in general. What's going on? What's the status of this Giants team at this point? Because it just seems like every game, every week is sort of the same. So, the special teams week to week, something just has to go wrong every week. Whether we don't have a kicker, whether we sign a new one, and he can't make the field goals. Whether even though we won the Seattle game, we get it wasn't a really a special teams play, but just something crazy, right? Fumbling into the end zone, no awareness to everyone's looking at the sideline judges to see if it's a touchdown while the other guy's running with the ball. No whistle was blown. No whistle was blown. The awareness, the special teams have not been good this year. And it hasn't just been one thing, it's been all sorts of things. And this week it was a punt return touchdown. That was really the difference in this game. The Giants defense did a very good job containing the Steelers offense. Time of possession was about the same on both ends, and we held them to 19 points. And, you never know what's going to happen if that punt return doesn't happen, but it could have been a little different, right? Game script's a little different. Maybe they're a little more hesitant to just run the ball if it's like a tie game. So as I said, special teams has been a problem all year, continues to be a problem. For the offense, the weapons are good enough, but mixed with Daniel Jones, they're not good enough. I mean, Slayton had a decent game. He had over 100 receiving yards, 108 on 4 catches, great yards per catch. But he's still sort of underwhelming with the drops. I know Daniel Jones made a really bad throw to him on that whole shot, but maybe could have at least caught it and got it knocked out, right? Wandale, we know what he is, 5 catches for 30 yards. I mean, I like Wandale as a player, but he can make people miss, but he cannot get yards after contact. As soon as someone gets even just a hand grabbing onto his jersey, he's not getting any more yards. I haven't seen it this year. So Wandale is, like I said, a respectable number 3, but he's not a number 2. And Theo Johnson had a really nice catch on probably Daniel Jones's best throw down the seam. I believe that was in the fourth quarter. Can't remember if it was on the last drive or not, but that was a crucial play. Another rookie. And then Neighbors, 7 for 71, most of that coming in the second half. But he did have a drop on a slant, and it wasn't the best throw. He kind of had to slow down, kind of put his hands near his back pocket to try to catch the ball. But you're Malik Neighbors, you need to catch that ball, and this is starting to become sort of an unavoidable discussion around him. Now, you could blame Daniel Jones. We've heard receivers like Diggs talk about going to guys like C.J. Stroud, who are very accurate, precise passers who throw with anticipation. And he described C.J. Stroud's passes as very catchable, very friendly passes to catch. I feel like Daniel Jones really might have a problem with ball placement. Even when he's making the right decisions to pick apart the defenses, he's not doing the ball placement quite well enough to, hit someone in stride, right? If someone's running a slant, hit them where they're going, right? Don't make them slow down and get tackled for a loss. Completely defeats the purpose of that route. You might as well just have them run a hitch. So the weapons are and let's not forget about Tyrone Tracy, another rookie who's an absolute dog. He really is. And you know what? It hit me. I was thinking about it the past couple weeks. He really reminds me of Alvin Kamara. Later round draft pick. What's he like, 215? I think he might be a little bit taller than Kamara. Kamara, I believe, is 5'11". I think Tracy's like 5'11 and a half, but they're basically the same frame. He's got receiving experience, and he's great in the receiving game. You can line him up out wide. He can run routes. And just the way he slips off of people, his contact balance and his elusiveness, He's pretty fast and pretty athletic and pretty explosive. He might even look a little bit faster than Kamara, but it's really that elusiveness and that contact balance that makes him special. So you love to see Tracy playing well. And the offensive line only allowed 4 sacks and produced 157 rushing yards. Tracy mixed with everyone else, and it was a pretty good yards per carry. I believe Tracy had like 7. I get it was boosted from the long touchdown run, but more or less they did their job in this game. And then I've talked about DJ a lot, and I don't want to harp, but it's just another game we've seen dozens of times, right? I said he was the X factor because you could tell if Daniel Jones played his best game, I think we actually probably would have beaten this Steelers team. And this was something that I was saying earlier in the year is that, maybe Andrew Thomas is there and the team's fully healthy. Neighbors never gets a concussion. This is a perfect case scenario, but I could have seen Daniel Jones, if he played his best game, winning this game. He was an X factor. He did not play well, hence we lost. And it's just over with the Daniel Jones experiment. Plenty of mistakes by other players too, but we just need change. Now, how the Giants offense played against the, Steelers key players that I mentioned in my preview video. Highsmith had 4 tackles and 2 sacks. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. Cam Hayward didn't have a sack, but he had 6 total tackles, 3 tackles solo and 3 assisted. So, we did a decent job with Hayward, I suppose. But Highsmith had 2 sacks, so couldn't do anything to stop that. So the offense is kind of more of the same thing every week. And something I was mentioning earlier in the video that I'll get back to now is it seems to me like someone is always making a mistake, whether it's a missed pass, right, an overthrow, or it's a drop, or someone gets no yards after contact. And then you can even start getting into penalties. We didn't have many penalties on offense this season before this game. We had, I believe, 10 offensive penalties in this game, which was another thing that absolutely killed us, which I suppose you could apply that to coaching. But to me, it's also very heavily on the quarterback to make sure everyone's on the same page. You had false starts, players not being set, illegal motions, formations, all those sorts of things killed us. And it's not just on Dable, it's on Daniel Jones as well to make sure that those things aren't happening and the offense is running correctly and the timing is right. Now for the defense, this is like the only constant, right? We allowed only 19 points to the Steelers offense specifically, which can be a little tricky to stop, and they look even better with Russell Wilson, but they did a fine job containing them. However, one of my key players, Deonte Banks, like I said, he doesn't play well. We're probably not going to win. He got benched. He got benched for Greg Stroman. We don't have Adoree Jackson. And we don't have McLeod. So, he must have been really bad even in the coach's eyes. He recorded 0 tackles in this game. He missed a tackle on Pickens. He missed a tackle on Najee where he got hurdled. I don't know what it is with Banks. I think he must be more of a man coverage guy. He was sort of advertised as someone who could do both coming out of college, but he played much better in the Wink Martindale scheme than he is in the Shane Bowen scheme. We're thin at corner, though, and that's a problem. That's going to be a problem for the rest of the season and something we're going to have to address in the offseason. I said Newbin would be a key player due to the different weapons that the Steelers offense has when it comes to running backs and tight ends. But Bobby Okereke, who I really easily could have said him as well, just like a safety, the middle linebacker gets matched up with them quite often. He had 7 tackles, 7 assists, and a half a sack. Also had a forced fumble that he recovered by himself. He was tracking down plays all over the field. Awesome job by Bobby Okereke. I'll never complain about Bobby O. So, yeah, isn't it just amazing how the Giants managed to do this? I mean, even when, as I said, one thing is a problem and it gets fixed, something else becomes a problem. Like the coaching with Brian Dable. What was that 2-point conversion call? Why are there so many penalties now? I know I said it was, Daniel Jones' fault as well, but it's on you for not having the team prepared. So I just can't understand how the Giants are able to – it's like honestly impressive how you're able to stay in a game and then lose them so consistently, except for the exception of the 2 games that they got blown out for. So, but to further emphasize that I just can't remember the last time the Giants played a complete football game and got a decisive win. We lose by 3 points. Why? We had no kicker and we dropped passes, right? So missed opportunities. We lose by 5 to the Cowboys. No touchdowns scored and dropped passes, so missed opportunities. Lose by 10, where it really was a 3-point game or a tie game pretty much until the end, with no touch. We had one touchdown and a red zone interception that absolutely killed us, and a couple penalties on huge plays that really held back the offense. And then this week we lose by 8, still one score. We allowed a punt return touchdown. Yeah, another thing on special teams, 10 offensive penalties. Yay! And then the last drive ends in an interception. So just a quick summary. The defense is the only constant. The special teams is a different problem every week. The offense has no consistency whatsoever, whether they can't score touchdowns, whether they don't run the ball like they didn't the past 2 weeks, whether we turn the ball over, whether we drop passes, miss throws, or penalties. One of those things shows up in every single Giants drive this entire season. I swear, one of those things has to have happened in every single drive and every single game, right? And in somehow always the most important moment. Now, this is a team sport, and kind of going back to what I just said, if one person's making a mistake every play, that can be enough to completely stall you out for the entire game. I'd rather everything go wrong in a play on offense. As long as it doesn't result in a defensive touchdown, I would rather have that as long as sometimes everything went right. Imagine if Daniel Jones just threw a perfect deep ball to Darius Slayton, who created enough separation to not drop the ball and catch it and run after the catch all the way for a deep touchdown like he did in the Seattle game. And not to mention, on a play like that, it could get called back by a penalty. Daniel Jones could get hit as he throws and it gets intercepted and you blame the offensive line. Something always goes wrong. But nonetheless, that's enough talking about the Giants, game this week, the future and looking ahead and all that stuff. We still got next week. And we got the Commanders next week. And they're coming off a Hail Mary victory against the Chicago Bears. Now, last time we played this team, I believe we were away. And we lost because we did not have a kicker. Now, of course, you really don't know what would have happened, but it's my personal opinion that we would have won that game. We had a kicker. But we now have a kicker. But the momentum and the development of the teams, seems like the Giants are just kind of like the same thing every week, and the Commanders are just going up. So we're home, which is really an away game for us. It's now a disadvantage. So there's obvious potential for us to lose this game quite badly, but it's definitely easier than playing the Steelers, in my opinion, or the Bengals, or a lot of the teams that have been recently on the schedule. Yeah, Bengals, Eagles, Steelers. That might be the toughest 3-game stretch of the entire season. I don't know. I'd say maybe Ravens, Falcons. Colts. Not even. I mean, roughest 4-game stretch. Ravens, Falcons, Colts, Eagles to end the season. Might be a little bit more difficult, but this is probably the low point of the season. I think this is when we're going to most likely beat the Panthers. We got a chance against the Commanders. The Buccaneers are very injured right now. The Cowboys are not the same team as when we played them the first time. The Saints, I think Derek Carr might come back, but they lost Shaheed for the year. Olave can't stay healthy. Their offensive line is injured. We are the only NFC team, and we have the only NFC quarterback to ever beat Lamar Jackson. I guess you never know. The Falcons, they're better than us, but they're beatable. Colts, probably I'd say the same thing. And then the Eagles, well, it's a way that last time maybe, I don't know. You don't know if they're going to sit their starters or what position they're going to be in. But stay tuned for my Commanders preview video coming next week. This is probably going to go up Wednesday, probably later in the day. It was a Monday night game. So forgive me. I couldn't record Monday night and get this out to you guys on Tuesday, which is when I'm recording this, is Tuesday night. But yes, thank you all so much for watching. Drop a like to support the channel. Your fellow Giants Sisyphean individual, and subscribe if you want to watch me continue to roll that boulder up the mountain for the rest of this Giants season and continue to punch out 2 videos per week, even when the Giants have lost probably the rest of the games for the rest of the season. So if you want to see more, just stay tuned. And as I said, thank you all so much for watching and have a good day. Better luck next week.